disturbing to you, don't keep looking at the images. If it's important, it's important. It's important for the world. I believe this. It's important for the world to see those images. I think we've all seen them. I don't think we need to see those images repeatedly. But I do think it's important for the world to see those images because people have to understand the absolute inhumane behavior that was exhibited last Shabbat, Simchat Torah. We're never going to forget that. We all know where we were. We're never going to forget where we were. And that's just the bottom line. It's what we call a flashbulb moment in our lives. Just like I can tell you exactly where I was when President Kennedy was shot. I mean, I can tell you exactly where I was when the Challenger went down. These are things that stick with you. I encourage you to kind of take a break from the phones. Any other questions? Was this helpful?
I've got a question. So we talked about, like they did in your firehouse example, they come in that day, they talk a bit, and then you're back and you're back. Our kids, exactly as you said, they've got a long time till they're, and they have to get up and keep going.
We're not going to see them for, till it's
Right.
over.
Right.
Okay.
And they're not going to communicate, and they may not be communicating with you if they are in country.
Right. So my question is, by that time it could have sort of they could have already built a shell around them. So
Mhm.
how and then they'll go,
Right. What do we do when they get home?
right? How do you reach them to say, okay? And they'll say, oh, I don't need, and you'll say.
Well,
need
first
to go
thing,
Right? Are we on the same
first
page?
things first. Don't assume that they have a disorder.
Right.
No.
Right? Don't assume that they have a disorder.
I'm not.
What
Right.
would be
That was what I was referring to earlier.
Right.
How long do you let them process, and how long does it usually come out? I mean, you're talking about a guy keeping 50 years after the Vietnam War, and he still was able to get through it. So obviously, he.
Okay, so
Well,
the way we
dysfunction
diagnose
all-
PTSD is if it's between 1 and 3 months, it's acute. If it's after 3 months, it's chronic, and and it has the possibility of having a delayed response. And so when I got to the VA in New Orleans in 2003, right at the start of the Iraq War, and the VA had, CNN on the TV and so I'd come up to the 5th floor where I was working in PTSD, and they would already be triggered. Right? The Vietnam veterans were already getting triggered by seeing burning victims. Now they were also beginning to retire, and they were also beginning to, find themselves in not working as much as they had maybe done previously. So they had delayed PTSD.
So you have to be on lookout for it. Don't assume it's going to happen. Communicate. Know that there is a process on how
Right.
it does develop, and there is a timeline. And I think you've given us a lot of tools.
Right.
How do you? I still got my question. How do you reach them if they're saying no, I'm okay? And they're not. They shut down.
You have to wait. You have to wait them out. Just love.
And you have to also see how they're functioning. You said it earlier. If you start seeing them erasing some of those circles, then you need to get. Then that professional help needs to come.
But
Any
they've
child
got
raising
to.
circles like that.
Everyone has circles. If you
Yeah.
want to say it again.
They've got to
Everyone has
want it.
circles of
What?
connections.
They've got to want it.
Oh, they start isolating.
They've got to want to.
Yes, you got.
They've got to see it.
Listen, if somebody has.
You could
You
bring a
can
horse
see
to
it.
water, you can't make
You
them
can
drink,
see it,
right?
but
But they have to be able to
That's
do the
what
work.
I'm
You have to kind of understand that you just let them know that you're there for them. You tell them that they've changed. They're not the same person. They won't be the same person, maybe, but that you're there for them, and you'll always be there for them.
Okay.
Whenever they're ready. You can't force somebody, but you will see if for people who have serious PTSD problems, you will see stuff like they'll start drinking more, they'll start using substances. I mean, these are things that are common in PTSD. Now, I know that people.
Just to add.
I know that, you know, Israel's an interesting country because there's a lot of natural resilience to Israelis that you don't see necessarily in America. But I also know that that they've been slow to recognize PTSD as a disorder.
Right.
Yeah.
And I interviewed several years ago. I don't remember. Eileen, when were we here when I interviewed those two psychologists in Jerusalem who have a program? They take full units to America.
Oh, and
Peace of
Romania.
mind.
What?
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind. I think